Hey guys, here's a story about a couple who's take a horrifying turn when they stumble upon a dark secret hidden in the Florida countryside. Watch as they fight to expose the truth and break the cycle of its feeding ground. Let's start. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the endless rows of cornfields into a green, watery mess. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, not just from the slickness, but from the terror that had gripped me since we'd left the abandoned church. Sarah, usually the picture of composure, was pale and silent beside me, her eyes glued to the road behind. Earlier, the rusty pickup truck with its mangled bumper had been the stuff of nightmares, but now, its absence was more unsettling. It felt like a predator stalking its wounded prey, waiting for the opportune moment to pounce. Are you sure about this? Sarah's voice barely rose above the drumming of the rain. The diner encounter with Giselle Gay Hartman still felt surreal. The middle-aged woman with the unsettlingly knowing eyes had predicted our ordeal, warning us to stay away from the church. Now, she was at the police station, apparently having followed us. As we parked, the station door opened, and Giselle stepped out, her trench coat billowing around her in the wind. Her gaze locked onto mine. "You've seen it," she stated matter-of-factly. Not a question, a statement. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Sarah spoke first, her voice trembling. It took them. All of them. Giselle's face remained impassive. It feeds on the forgotten, the lost souls who slip through the cracks. It has been doing so for centuries, disguised as a human, preying on the vulnerable. My mind reeled. The stitched-up man in the pipe, the prom couple everyone thought ran away, they were all just more meals for this monster, Giselle described. What do we do? I rasped, the enormity of the situation crushing me. Giselle placed a hand on my shoulder. You've already done more than most ever could. You brought it to light. Now, it's up to us. She looked at me meaningfully, a flicker of something akin to hope in her eyes. A hope that felt fragile, precarious, like a candle flame in the storm, as the police, alerted by Giselle, began questioning us. The true weight of what we'd seen sank in. We were no longer just husband and wife on a spring break trip gone wrong. We were witnesses, survivors, and maybe, just maybe, a spark in the fight against an ancient horror. The outcome, however, remained shrouded in the same swirling mist as the rain-soaked cornfields. Would we be the ones to finally extinguish the light of the monster, or would it continue to feed on the forgotten, forever hidden in plain sight? Days blurred into weeks. Interviews, tests, and skeptical glances from authorities became our new normal. Sarah, once vibrant, grew withdrawn, haunted by the stitched man's pleading eyes, and the sight of hundreds turned into a macabre tapestry. Giselle, a constant but enigmatic presence, offered cryptic advice and hushed whispers of past encounters with the creature. One evening, Giselle arrived, her face etched with worry. "It's here," she announced, her voice hollow. "It knows you exposed it. It wants closure." My blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" Giselle shook her head, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "It wants you to witness the ending. To face the consequences of disturbing its feeding ground." Dread coiled around my chest. We were pawns in a terrifying game, and the rules were constantly shifting. We had no choice but to follow Giselle, the only one who seemed to understand the monster's twisted logic. She led us to a desolate quarry, the rain a chilling counterpoint to the oppressive silence. In the distance, the mangled pickup sat abandoned. As we approached, a figure emerged from the shadows, the driver, his eyes burning with an unnatural hunger. But something was different. This wasn't a human, not anymore. His skin stretched taut over his frame, his hands clawed and grotesque. "You disrupted the cycle," it rasped, its voice a grating chorus of whispers. "Now, witness the cost." Giselle stepped forward, facing the creature with unwavering resolve. She spoke in a language I couldn't understand, the words resonating deep within me, stirring a forgotten memory. But before I could grasp it, the ground trembled. The earth beneath the quarry floor cracked open, revealing a bottomless chasm. The creature, trapped on the crumbling edge, turned towards us, its inhuman face contorted in a mask of rage and desperation. "You'll pay," it shrieked, its voice echoing through the chasm. Giselle held her ground, her gaze unwavering. "No," she countered, her voice surprisingly strong. "The cycle ends now." With a final, earth-shattering roar, the creature plunged into the abyss. The ground rumbled, dust and debris swirling around us. The chasm sealed shut as abruptly as it had opened, leaving behind an unsettling silence. We stood there, shell-shocked, the rain washing away the dust but not the lingering dread. Giselle turned to us, a faint smile playing on her lips. "It's over," she said, her voice filled with a weariness that belied her words. But was it truly over? The memory fragment, a whisper about ancient pacts and unbreakable chains, nagged at the back of my mind. Did the creature's fall truly mean the end, or was it merely a temporary reprieve? As I looked at Sarah, her eyes mirroring my own uncertainty, the answer remained chillingly unknown. Weeks turned into months, the scars of our encounter fading into a mosaic of nightmares and unsettling memories. Sarah and I tried to rebuild our lives, but normalcy felt like a distant dream. The chilling realization that we weren't alone in our world, that horrors lurked in the shadows, clung to us like a persistent fog. One day, a worn envelope arrived, addressed to me in Giselle's spidery handwriting. Inside was a single, faded newspaper clipping. The headline screamed, "Missing teenagers found alive after decades in captivity. Cult leader arrested." The accompanying picture sent a jolt of terror through me. It showed the cult leader, his face etched with a familiar, chilling hunger, being led away by police. This was no ordinary man, it was the face of the driver, the creature, seemingly human again. The accompanying article detailed the teenagers' escape from a hidden compound deep within the same forest where we encountered the church. They spoke of nightmarish rituals, whispers of an entity feeding on their life force, and a man with stitched scars on his stomach who led the ceremonies. The clipping sparked a chilling realization. Perhaps Giselle wasn't entirely truthful. Maybe the creature wasn't truly vanquished, merely taking another form, another host. The memory fragment, long dormant, resurfaced with terrifying clarity now. It spoke of a symbiotic relationship between the creature and human vessels, a cycle of possession and release fueled by forgotten souls. A cold sweat prickled my skin. Was the driver truly gone, or was he simply biding his time, waiting for another opportunity to rise? As I looked at Sarah, her gaze mirroring my rising worry, I realized the true horror wasn't just the creature itself. It was the chilling knowledge that its existence, in one form or another, might forever be a part of our world, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for its next chance to feed. The months after our encounter were arduous, filled with therapy sessions, police reports, and the constant nagging fear that Giselle's cryptic warnings held more weight than her reassurances. But gradually, the nightmares lessened, replaced by dreams of normalcy. Sarah and I found comfort in routine, in the mundane joys of everyday life that we once took for granted. One day, a package arrived on our doorstep, addressed in Giselle's familiar hand. Inside, nestled amongst dried lavender and a worn leather-bound journal, lay a small, intricately carved wooden box. A handwritten note accompanied it, its message cryptic yet hopeful. The cycle has been broken, but vigilance remains. Carry this with you, a reminder of the strength that resides within. Intrigued, I opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was a single white feather, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. As I held it, a wave of peace washed over me, dispelling any lingering fear. In the journal, Giselle had documented her life's work, decades spent tracking and weakening the creature's influence through forgotten rituals and ancient knowledge. The final entry was dated the day after our encounter at the quarry. It spoke of a binding spell, woven with the last of her energy, to sever the entity's connection to its earthly vessel and trap it within the abyss. The weight lifted from my shoulders. The feather, Giselle's parting gift, became a symbol of our resilience, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, hope and courage can prevail. Years passed, and life unfolded. We moved on, built a family, and found solace in the ordinary. The feather remained, tucked away in a drawer, a silent testament to the extraordinary. The memory of the horror faded, replaced by the warmth of a life reclaimed, One evening, as I sat with my grown daughter, reading her a bedtime story, a gentle breeze stirred the air. A single white feather floated down, landing softly in my lap. A small smile played on my lips. It was a reminder that while the horrors of the past may leave their mark, they need not define the future. And sometimes, even the most perfect endings can hold a whisper of the unknown, a reminder to remain vigilant, for the world is a vast and mysterious place, filled with both light and shadow.